I'm thinking tanned gentlemen that swallow fire and wear sarongs.
Female Fight Club. We grease up. Surprise! Beat the crap out of her.
I don't hate it.
Vegas it is.
So most of us saw this back at South by Southwest, and which was, a couple of months ago. So I feel kind of bad trying to talk about this movie because I don't remember a lot about it. One of the things that I do remember about this, though, is that it bugged the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
And the other thing I remember is being puzzled because one of us here, I will not name any names, enjoyed this movie.
Lock the room. One of you is a murderer. I mean, you like this movie.
Murderer of taste. Look, who doesn't like a good wedding, all right?
Leon liked this movie with the candlestick in the observatory.
I believe it was Mr. Mustard.
I think it was Leon, the one who canceled a marathon of Justice League so he can watch the royal wedding. I think that's the man we're dealing with right now.
I wouldn't put anything
I
past him.
canceled the show that didn't come on anymore.
After hearing that he liked Bridesmaids, I wouldn't put anything past him.
The reason I think it's almost wrong for us to review this movie because I'm pretty sure, despite everything we heard about, this is the final cut, y'all. I'm like thinking bullshit. I'm betting the one that's playing the theater this weekend is not going to be the same.
Well, you know what? We saw a commercial for it, and I asked, was that scene in the movie? I said, I don't think
I've
it was.
seen 2 or 3 commercials, and each one has had scenes that weren't in the cut.
I'm telling you, man, that happens all the
No,
time.
I know.
That's not uncommon.
When it was once, I was like, okay, that happens. And when it was twice, I was like, But 3 times?
It may be just that they went, well, none of these scenes in the movie work but taken out of context. So we've got to take some of the deleted scenes.
I mean, it's entirely possible. But the thing is, you know what? Watch this movie. I'm like, you know what? There's a lot about this movie I like. But there's also a lot that I think should be cut. And by the end of it, I was like, this is a lot of stuff. There's things in here that I think have to be cut.
No, when he said, this is the final cut right here, and I was watching some scenes, and through those scenes, I just wanted to yell like, you a goddamn lie, because this is going on, and it's not even necessary. People who even like the movie in the theater, it seemed like they would run out of steam as they quit laughing. I'm like,
you were mad. I was sitting next to you, and you were going like, he's leaning over to me going, I am ready to kill the director of this film who's sitting right over there, and I'm going to go kill him. I'm going to kick his
so glad
ass.
he's here. I just want to go there and choke that bitch.
It's too bad that I was way up in the balcony, because I should have been sitting behind y'all the whole time going,
You would have with a big cigar.
Would have had a cigar in your ass by the time though. You and that director would have died that night, man. You would have got that director killed for laughing that hard at this shit. The reason why I cannot stand this movie, and we all chatted about this a little bit. I mean, even when coming out the theater, we ran into Carlisle and we were talking to him, and I think most of us are in agreement here that your lead character, who is named Annie, played by Kristen Wiig, is just an annoying, horrible person.
Yeah, she's a horrible bitch in this movie.
Yeah,
she is
totally despicable. And the movie wants you to like her. That's what baffled me. When you've got a character who is she's just so incredibly shallow, and yet she thinks of herself as not being shallow. Yet she's so incredibly shallow, and is so rude to people. I'm sorry, I can't root for this girl. All I want is for something even more horrible than is happening to happen to her.
Yeah, and that's a running trend. It seems like that's the running trend with a lot of these chick flicks I've seen lately, where it's like the lead characters are the most despisable characters in the movie. And you're like, why is this filmmaker, why is this script trying to justify their actions when they're completely acting like dumb bitches, and it made me think, wow, no wonder girls can't fucking hang out with each other, because they probably have to deal with these people in real life. Who knows?
okay, this is where I come in with the counterpoint.
That's what I'm
all right, let's
waiting.
fucking hear it.
I'm sitting here waiting, watching Leon.
I know when I say this, y'all are gonna be like, no, already formed my opinion, not gonna change it. But the thing is, I mean, prior to us seeing, what was that piece of shit we saw last week?
Something borrowed.
Something borrowed.
Yeah. Where you had truly despicable characters, every single last one of them. Prior to that, in most of these movies, the girl is made to be very sweet. She's funny. She might be a little shy and demure, but that's all it is. What I liked about this was, like, here we had a main character. You say she's unlikable. I mean, I saw her as just being super incredibly flawed. She is. But the thing is, unlike most of the characters, like especially in the last movie we saw, where they're all young, they're all pretty, they're all rich, they got everything going for them. And so when they have problems, you're like, give me a break. I don't believe any of this. Now here we got a woman who's practically middle-aged, and she's broke. I mean, her life is falling apart. She is not. She's like the kind of average people, and I know lots of them. I don't know if y'all do, people who are just kind of coasting. They think they're better off in life than they really are, but they're kind of a mess.
Man, stop making excuses for this bitch right here.
No, I'm just saying this. No, I'm not making excuses. You know what? She is. That's what I'm saying. Like
Okay.
this is the character that you almost never get in these movies.
I was like, get to the point where I'm supposed to like her, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't give a fuck about her problems.
That's not. You know what? Let me go ahead and
point
tell
is
people
not to like
Yeah,
her.
let me tell the context of what this character.
What's the plot,
Yeah,
Corey?
exactly. No, as we said, Kristen Wiig plays Annie. She's middle-aged. She's single. She's broke. And she's about to watch her best friend, Lillian, played by Maya Rudolph, get married. And as we all know, women get crazy at weddings. Now, the bride is insane. But bridesmaids are crazy too. Apparently there's all these rivalries going on, and people want to be the planner. They want to be the center of attention. They want to be the best friend that day. You have Annie trying to do this all for her best friend, but in step Rose Byrne, who plays the character Helen, who's kind of like the people that you hate in that last movie we were talking about, Leon. She's privileged, she's pretty, and for some reason, just out of nowhere, she's chosen to be the big planner for a lot of the events that happens at Lillian's wedding. So you got this rivalry going on between those two, and in the middle of this, they bring in all the other bridesmaids who, in no particular order, are played by Wendy McClendon Covey, or is that her name? You said, yeah. Melissa McCarthy, who's the fat chick from that TV show about the fat couple. you know what I'm
I've seen her in so many different things, but I never saw that show.
Yeah, she's, and I'll talk about her because I think she's pretty good in this. And I'll
She's
talk about
actually
her
the
in a
most
minute.
likable thing about this
Yeah,
movie.
and then you have Ellie Kemper, who is character Becca, and so they get caught up in the middle of all these bridesmaids wars that are
Bride
going on.
shenanigans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these hijinks that happen. Now, the reason why I gotta come in and say I cannot agree with you on anything that you say about Annie, except the facts that she's broke, she's middle-aged, and she's single. Outside of that, she's a victim of her own fucking circumstance.
She absolutely is.
And I think Kristen Wiig, maybe she plays it too well. I don't know. But I hate this person because you get the feeling like everything that's going on in her life is her fault. And she cannot take accountability for that.
Right.
She has to go off and take it out on other people. She can't hold down a job because when she has a bad day, she's got to talk shit to people who just want to come in, buy some jewelry, and have the rest of that day in bliss. She has to ruin that for them.
Well, the scenes that you're talking about specifically, where she's at work, those scenes solidify how much of a bitch she is. Just by telling people, well, this guy's gonna fuck you over. He's gonna cheat on you. Why? And you're like, well, why are you? What is the context of why you're doing this?
If I knew
What is
someone
it?
like that, I wouldn't be friends with him for more than a minute and a half
Yeah.
before I'd go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's the other thing in the movie. Who's the guy from Mad Men?
John Hamm.
John Hamm opens up with her and John Hamm. He's a total douche in this movie, and you can tell that this is the kind of guys that this girl falls for. And then when she's finished and the guy treats her like shit, she's like, how come I can't find a nice guy?
Yeah.
And when she does find a nice guy, she treats that person like crap.
Even
She
more
shits
like
all
shit.
over him.
We have the romantic subplot in here where she gets with the good guy, actor named Chris O'Dowd, who plays Rhodes.
I like that guy.
Yeah, and I was going to say, that guy I like. There are two characters in this movie that I like, and this guy I liked. I mean, he plays a sweet guy. He is, I guess he's a highway patrolman who meets her by pulling her over.
It's gonna get better, right?
I wouldn't have thought so. My sister was a maid of honor at our cousin's wedding, and she found it so stressful, her hair started falling out.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it grew back, but it was pretty gross. Planning a wedding should be fun. You know what? If I ever had a wedding, I'd want everybody to be stress-free. I'd like it to be like a carnival. Like people win prizes for guessing the bride's way, dunk tanks.
Yeah. Mhm. You could have elephants, and bride and groom can walk on a little tightrope.
Okay, what you're talking about there, that's a circus wedding.
Oh.
It's a totally different. You missed it.
But the thing that made me laugh about that subplot is that when he's macking on this girl, he can just leave his car at any time, go drink on the job. He goes into the bar with his uniform on. He pretty much has a six-pack in the car.
Come on, man. I mean, y'all like to have this idea of these pristine cops who go by the book, but think about the cops we know.
I just thought
They wouldn't think nothing about that.
I thought he was the last cast member from Super Troopers or something, which I
It's
think
like
is why I
you
liked
must
him.
be a very good regular at this bar for the bartender to serve you in your uniform right now on duty. I was like, come on, man.
Oh, well, they probably cut the scene where he took a pay envelope.
Probably so.
You're not bitter or anything, are you?
All right, man. I just keep it real.
They made child pornography. You better give me a fucking beer. Tell somebody. Yeah, but I
You
do
didn't
like
see
that.
nothing.
But the thing is, the major plot of this movie is basically it's a best friends rivalry where she's trying to plan a fucking Walmart wedding, where this girl who's actually has money can afford all these nice things for her friend because she knows exactly what her friend wants. You know, she can afford the nice wedding, and this bitch over here is pissed off because it's like, hey, what about my ideas? What about me? What about me over here? And that's what the whole movie is.
The girl's
really.
being a bitch too.
Yeah.
I mean, she's totally being irresponsible about it and like pushing too hard. It wants to be the Hangover for women. It desperately wants
That's
to
a
be
good
that
point.
with all these flawed characters.
Certainly with the ad campaign, that's what they're doing.
The difference is, and the Hangover is about a bunch of really flawed people who have to pull together and find camaraderie to get out of their situation. This is about a bunch of seriously flawed people who all act like bitches to each other and like never and do the opposite. They pull apart. So what's the fun in watching that?
Yeah, and that's, you know, the thing is, like with the advertising, it's really misadvertised because, yeah, it really is. That's all I think about. Looking at the poster and even going in, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch like a female version of The Hangover. And it wasn't that at all. It's like
No, it's
that
not.
group is hardly together. And when you think, okay, halfway through the movie where you think, okay, they're about to go to Vegas, they don't even follow on that. It's like something happens and they don't, and they're dispersed, and you don't see them until like a little way through the movie. And I'm just like, okay, well, what is this movie about besides this main chick being a bitch to her friend all the time, like ruining every event that her best friend had, the one who's going to get married.
It's about, actually, you said it before, it's more about the friendship rivalry. Because I've talked to a bunch of women about it, just starting to tell them what the plot was. You have the friend from childhood who's down on her luck but wants to be the one to plan the wedding, but now there's a new friend who has the money. And before I can finish telling them, they go like, oh shit, and I bet this happens. I was like, yeah. I was like, you've seen something like this before? He's like, no. This is just universal. This is how we feel. This is exactly what would happen in a situation like this. When it comes down to it, it is more about her learning to grow up and not, get out of her space. By
movie standards.
By just like looking around and going like, wow, my life really is like in a crisis, and I have just been like not really paying attention to it.
Yeah.
If the movie itself had been funnier to me, I probably could have dealt with this character because I think that the movie itself is, it's the kind of gross-out humor that comes out of nowhere that I don't like. There's a point where all these bitches go to try to dress and they eat some bad Mexican and end up shitting all over the store.
Yeah, when the
Which
bride
normally I would hate, but I thought it was funny.
when the bride is taking a shit in the middle of the street in her bridal dress.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to see that. I really don't want to see that.
I don't like being reminded that women shit, period. I mean, there's certain things I like about the film. I mean, even the shit joke in the middle, I laughed at first until it went on too long. And I must say that I think that I enjoy this trend of seeing women fart and shit more in movies. I think that's the more empowering to women. There were a time that you didn't see women do that. And now you got a whole gang of them shitting out in the middle of the street. So,
we can fight and shit too. Equality.
Exactly. So,
You have fun with your equality in those movies I don't want to go see.
all you women out there, fart for feminism.
I respect your right to fart and shit in films. It doesn't mean I have to like it, but I respect
No,
the
do
right
it in
to
movies.
it.
Don't do it in my house.
Well, they're gonna do it in your house, dude. There's no escaping that.
When you go to my bathroom, deep down inside I might know what's happening, but I want you to cut the shower on and tell me that's what you're doing. Even if you just come over for dinner, I want you to say I feel dirty right now. I was sweating when I got over here. I gotta take a shower.
Just blame the cat. Damn, you smell that, Corey? Jesus Christ, your cat is like, wow, what do you feed that
Are
thing?
you telling her to use the litter box?
If I use a litter box, you'll never know.
Damn, cat, what you been doing?
Jesus Christ, just a piece of shit as big as the cat, the litter box. Damn, how you feeding that thing, Corey? It's a Taco Bell or something.
Any scene, real or in a movie, where a bunch of people have to throw up and start having just a big vomitorium party, I'm gonna laugh.
No,
I laughed at it in Hamburger the movie. I thought it was awesome.
I've seen where it's worked. Family Guy.
And you know what?
There you go. End of story.
I'm lying. I think I'm lying about the whole shit thing. I actually find fart jokes and shit jokes funnier these days.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Contextually, if it's funny, then it's funny.
No,
but you can't just go, and now the fart joke.
Yes.
You know, there's a few things in that scene that were funny, but the thing is, as far as the rest of the movie goes, is that every time they had a joke, they kept going with it and going with it. Where at first it was initially funny, but they kept going to where you're like, okay, all right, I get it now. Stop with the joke. The joke can stop here. But they keep trying to run with it. In a lot of scenes where I'm like, okay, stop it. It's like you're trying way too fucking hard right now.
You were right about that. One scene in particular that I can remember, where I was saying to myself, please, just end it. I mean, it's not even because I think the movie's bad. This is just a scene that's going on too long. It's hurting any momentum that this movie has, is the scene on the airplane. There's a lot of backstabbery among these women, and sometimes it can be amusing, sometimes it can't. But this is one where you have, what's her name, Rose Byrne, who drugs up Kristen Wiig, gives her some ecstasy. And you know why you would do that on a plane, I don't know, and jeopardize every fucking flight on the plane. But Kristen Wiig it's not even like this character anymore. It's the actor just mugging because the director, the director's just letting them go on.
Yeah, it looked like it should have been like cut. A lot of that stuff looked like it should have been on the cut.
Oh yeah, she's just ad-libbing, man.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It was bad ad-libbing. Where I'm like, this is like now you're down. This whole thing is starting to remind me of a fucking really long SNL skit that I just don't like.
I wonder why.
She's wearing shades, she's bugging
half
people.
the whole cast who's in the movie.
That's the other problem.
She made me so angry because even though I understood she was drugged, she was even more annoying when she was high. She was getting feisty with the flight attendant, getting on people's nerves, and I don't know, man. Again, when I hate that kind of character, I don't want anything else to like make me annoyed by them even more.
I want to say this in respect to Leon's points, because I understand totally what you're saying, and I think that your argument would hold water for me if it was more of a dramedy and less of a totally goofy set piece driven comedy. Because if you're doing that, you want me to laugh consistently all the way through, these got to be people I want to laugh with. But it doesn't work in this way. I don't think you can have that big of a cast that you just don't like anybody when you're trying for the total gross out jokes, nonstop set comedy pieces. Like, obviously not reality either.
The other character I like is Melissa McCarthy. She's the everybody has to have that fat friend in the group. Sure. That fat goofy friend. So she's the fat chick of the group. And for some reason, I really like her. She's not realistic by any manner, but she's the most realistic out of that group. She seems the most down to earth. She seems to give the best advice.
She's likable because she's the only one who actually, tells the truth. She's the fool who speaks the truth here. And she is. She's kind of dumb. She's dumber than the rest of the girls, but she doesn't bullshit anyone. She doesn't lie. She always says what's on her mind. She always says flat out, hey, this is what's going on. Don't you see what's happening here? And that's why you kind of like her, because you're like, in her own way, she's the only genuine person in this whole group.
She's usually saying what the audience is thinking.
We always like the character who comes in and drops the knowledge. But prior to her doing that, she was the character I was most like, all right, she's just clearly written for comedy relief and just saying a bunch of random shit. Get her out of
that role was meant for Chris Farley once again.
She's still recycling Chris Farley's.
She looked like Chris Farley, man. That's one thing I think I liked her because when I saw her on that show, I keep saying the show.
It's funny. Almost every other role I've seen her in, she's been kind of glamorous. And I always thought, like, if this chick wasn't fat, she'd probably be good looking.
Jesus Christ.
But seeing
Come on,
her
man.
in
It's just like
I thought you just looked like Chris Farley.
but seeing her in this is just like, never mind.
Yeah, no, Mike and Molly. I feel bad saying that show about those two fat people. No, Mike and Molly she's in. And no, I'm no Leon.
Well, it's not a show.
I'm glad Leon's feeling nice.
Wait, it's not a show about two skinny people.
No, it ain't. It's a show about two people like to eat, and I've seen her in a lot of movies. I don't remember even seeing her in Go, but I saw Go the other day, and I was like,
she's in Go?
Yeah, I was like, that's Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, she was, wasn't she?
Yeah, and I was like, wow, she's a pretty woman. She's that big chick that if you are desperate and drunk that night, you take her home. But looking at it,
I'll let you blow me.
Yeah, that's what it,
Okay, I don't even want to take down the pants, but I'll let you blow me.
Well, I'm glad you didn't say anything more offensive than what I.
No, I'm trying to make you listen. I did this for you to help you out.
And then you look up and you go, Cyrus?
Just go to sleep.
You didn't see nothing.
But man, I don't know. I don't know what this chick looks like. I don't know if they uglied her up for this movie or if they doll her up that much for other films. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt because she is a pretty woman in everything I've seen her in. And here she looks like a fucking dwarf. Yeah, she looked like she should be carrying like an axe and mining for gold somewhere.
I actually thought her character was supposed to be a lesbian, but
No,
not at all. I mean,
yeah,
she's
she looked
very
just
much
like a
she's very
lesbian.
butch in this movie. That's
Right.
the thing.
I really liked Maya Rudolph. And although I've been complaining about that rivalry between Kristen Wiig and Rose Byrne, I think that as actresses, they have great chemistry with that rivalry. There's a scene in here where they do dueling wedding speeches that I actually thought was pretty hilarious. It's odd for a movie like this to let one element, and there's a lot of elements here, but to let one main element bring it down this low, but I have to give this movie some more bullshit because of that character. That character just made everything that would have been at least tolerable to me a lot worse throughout this film. It was just a really
And
bad
you never
ride.
give some old bullshit.
Well, I give it to this. I give it some old a woman going to my bathroom shitting out some bullshit kind of bullshit.
Note to girls coming to Corey's house: do not ask to use the restroom.
Hold it. Just keep that shit inside. Drive down to the
Not welcome.
go to the gas station or something. Don't do it here.
Hold it until you have to go to bed with him.
That's what he's waiting
That'd be
for.
a story.
He loves the Cleveland steamer.
You should have let me go. I do have to make this disclaimer, though. This movie and the kind of humor that it has reminds me very much of another film that everyone loved, and I just wasn't that big a fan of, and that is The Wedding Crashers. And judging by that, I would have to say that I think most people are going to like this movie more than me. And if that's the case for them, I would say it's a high rental, even a matinee. I'm just not the right judge for this film. So, Leon. You should go
Leon.
last. You should go last. No, you should go.
should he go? Okay. I don't have but so much to say about this I haven't already said. I just think ultimately there was nothing funny in it. I just didn't laugh once, and it was constantly prodding me to go, "Isn't this funny? Isn't this funny? Isn't this funny?" And I kept saying, "No, no, no," until finally I just wanted to scream at it. "No, you're not fucking funny. Just end already."
Yeah, I agree.
It's just some old bullshit movie. I'm sorry. I felt like it should have been more. I love Kristen Wiig. I think she's very talented, but this was not the star vehicle that we have been waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah, during the middle of it, I was thinking, okay, this maybe this is a rental, because I did laugh. There's some parts where I actually laughed. I thought it was genuinely funny, but with some of those jokes, those laughs turned to shrieks because they just kept on going too long. But yeah, I mean, this movie is like the annoying bitch at the wedding who's trying to be funny, but she just starts getting on everyone's fucking nerves, and you just want to tell her to shut up because she's the one who needs to go and interrupt everyone while they're fucking talking up there on the mic about
And
their
you
friend.
end up fucking her drunk and the Holiday Inn, and you're in a puddle of your own vomit.
She's the girl you give Dirty Sanchez to. But yeah, so all you
so
buddies
far.
can talk about it at the wedding. Yeah, but no, I mean, I have to give it some old bullshit just because. Yeah, I mean, it did seem like it's funny, but then it started to feel way too long, and I felt kind of gypped that it wasn't really about all the bridesmaids, even though it's called Bridesmaids. You really don't get a sense of that at all, like their camaraderie. Where I thought the movie really could have worked if there were more scenes with the entire group of bridesmaids.
Well, I just want to say that's a good point.
That's because men get together and we have camaraderie in the face of adversity. Yeah, and bitches just find a way. I mean, women ultimately hate each other. That's just the way it goes. It's just the movie was just real. You just don't want to face it.
I've known tight-knit groups of girls before
And
for like a month.
Yeah.
I said this before in another review. I know those people exist, and and the thing is, I don't like them, and I sure as hell don't want to see a movie about them.
Yeah. What'd you
I
give
remember
it, by the way?
saying
I gave it some old bullshit.
For Eat, Pray, Love. But
Hey, I heard that.
well, I suppose probably the biggest difference between me and you guys was that I did find most of it funny. I didn't like the randomness of it, but at the same time, with a Judd Apatow movie, it's just the structure of how these movies are put together. And I enjoyed the fact that, like, okay, these movies are always very male-centric. They did one for women. And I know that no matter how I felt about it, it's a good crowd-pleasing movie for the kind of crowd that wants to see this movie, that wants to see a chick flick where they can get a little bit dirty, but it's the women doing it, and it doesn't feel like it's men just write something to say, like Tarantino and Death Proof. And as far as, if it had been more about the bridesmaids, I mean, that is how they're selling it, so I expected to see that. But it would have been just the female version of The Hangover. I almost, like, there was that part of me was like, okay, here's where they go to Vegas, it's The Hangover, and it's like, oh, it's not. So what'd you give this one? Oh, I give it a high rental.
I think that the air was just thin up in the balcony where he was sitting. That's my theory. That's it. You know what? It's funny because you said you didn't want to see it just be a female hangover. And I'd kind of like to see a female hangover. I mean,
I was about to
that'd
say,
be a
I'm
great
the same
idea
way.
for a spin-off. To have the thing where the guys are all at home and the girls go somewhere,
That would
Vegas
be-
or wherever,
yeah.
and
That would
do a
be
similar type thing where it's like, oh, they're forced to all gang together
Yeah.
to like get through some shit, and they all have their own set of problems.
When
that,
that-
would be an entertaining
When that movie comes out, we'll go see it. And Leon, you stay home.
You stay
all
home.
right? Yeah.
Please.
You know, it would be like that. The women would just go somewhere and cry. They'd either cry and wait for a man to help them, or have them would sell their bodies, and that's the end of the movie.
Leon, the misogynist of Spill.com.
You just brought it right back around to you, man. I don't have to worry about it.
Thank you for taking my title.
Oh, this is some class.